What is going on there, everyone? Well, we are going to talk some campaign finance today. Let's see where we're at, and let's see what all the talk is about today on the legacy media. And this is it. Bernie Sanders, 34.5 million haul leads Democrats' fourth quarter totals so far. Now, that is a considerable amount of money. And especially for any of the Democratic campaigns, which have really been hemorrhaging money. They're not doing so well. The DNC itself is roughly $8 million in debt as of right now, so it's not looking good for them. We're not going to go through this whole thing. I'm just going to read the first two paragraphs. Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont raised more than 34.5 million for his White House bid during the final 3 months of 2019, a sign of his considerable financial strength, and a little more than a month before the Democrats began selecting their 2020 presidential nominee. Ooh, it's getting close, ain't it? Sanders was the second candidate vying for the Democratic nomination to announce his fundraising numbers in the fourth quarter, a day after former South Bend, Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg announced raising $24.7 million, which is also a very considerable amount of money for the Democrats because they've been really not performing well, so to say, when it comes to fundraising. The other Democrats who have emerged in the top tier, former Vice President Joe Biden and Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren, have not yet announced their totals for the last months of 2019. Well, I can tell you, Elizabeth Warren, she's already peaked. She hit her peak probably somewhere around after the second, in between the second and third debates. She was really hitting her peak, and now she's kind of stagnated again. So for her, that's not looking good. But for the country, is whenever any of these Democrats start failing, yes, it's looking good for the country. But yeah, and Joe Biden, his numbers have been fairly abysmal his whole candidacy, to be honest. I mean, I know he's got a lot of the elites backing him, and he's got the DNC backing him, and if the DNC backs you, you're in a good spot because they will fudge the numbers and do whatever they have to, as we saw in 2016 with Sanders and Clinton. They'll do whatever they have to make sure the person they want gets the nomination. Doesn't matter which you, the Democratic voters, doesn't matter who y'all are for. It's who the DNC is for. One day you're going to see this stuff. It should be fairly clear nowadays, especially with this presidential run. But I understand sometimes talking to certain people on the left is like talking to a brick wall. They just stand there. They don't actually hear anything you're saying. But let's jump over here, because the Democrats right now, they are elated by these numbers. Well, I'm going to throw a wrench in that wheel real quick. Donald Trump campaign raises $46 million in fourth quarter. Now, the Trump campaign has been outraising money from... it's almost immeasurable how much he's outraised the candidates on the left. Like, all of them combined, he's outraised all of them combined. And when there was, at one point, 20? But yeah. The numbers include just the Trump's campaign's fundraising, which combined with the RNC fundraising haul will deliver another unprecedented funding boost for his re-election campaign. A senior campaign official said the campaign haul was fueled in part by a surge of donations after Democrats pursued the impeachment of President Trump. And thank you, Democrats. I mean, not only thank you, Democrats, but thank you, legacy media. Y'all are doing exactly what you did in 2016. Y'all are giving Trump all the free press. Billions and billions of dollars worth of free press. I think he's already gotten like somewhere around $5 billion in free press since 2017. Good job, media. Good job. You know, it's funny. Y'all hate him so bad, but you love him so much at the same time. Because if it wasn't for Trump, places like CNN and MSNBC, the ultra left wing, that media would be done. The only thing even keeping their ratings up now is the Trump bump. Just talking about Trump. That's pretty pathetic. But what can you say? The numbers stomp Democratic fundraising numbers, including Senator Bernie Sanders raising more than $34 million and Mayor Pete Buttigieg raising $25 million in the fourth quarter. President Trump now has $102.7 million cash on hand, according to the Trump campaign official. As 2020 draws, I'm proud to be working hard for Donald Trump's re-election, wrote Trump campaign communications director Tim McMurdo on Twitter. His wins for all Americans and strong and growing economy and promises made and kept will ensure victory. Well, it should. It should, in theory, having the first president to actually throw out a list of promises during his initial campaign and actually fighting tooth and nail to get those promises done, and that's a first. That's a first. Most presidents, yeah, they promise the world and then they get in there and they just do what all other presidents do, and that's just they get in there and they ride it out. They do whatever however you want to call it, the deep state. Yeah, the deep state pretty much ran the government. Why do you think they didn't like Trump? Why do you think they're doing everything possible to try to just screw with the Trump administration? There's a reason, because he's different. He's an outsider. He's different. He doesn't care about what they have to say. He's running the show the way he wants to run it. And they don't like that. And we've seen investigations after investigations, this, that, and the other, all pretty much come up bunk. There's nothing there. But they're going to continue. And now let's jump over here to opensecrets.org, which I actually like this website. And when it comes to finances and stuff, good website to go to. I would definitely suggest checking it out. I'll put a link in the description, as always. But let's look at Donald Trump's stuff thus far. As you can see, right now, with just the Trump for President pack going, it's pretty much, that's all I'm going to be focusing on right here. But he's almost at 170 million and raised, and he spent right around 102 million. But man, when you start looking at these numbers, they're like, wow, that's some pretty impressive totals, wouldn't you say? Now let's jump over here to Joe Biden's. And the reason I'm focusing on Joe Biden after starting off with Bernie Sanders is I really don't feel Bernie Sanders is going to be nominated. I just don't. The DNC doesn't like him. He's not even technically a Democrat. He's technically an independent. So having him run as a Democrat is probably, I don't know. I don't know what he's thinking. I don't know what they're thinking. And I'm glad I don't know what those leftist people are thinking, because they're very twisted. But let's look at Biden's numbers here. His total raised right under 37 million, and he spent almost 29 million. That's not looking good. That's not looking good. I mean, and he's their front runner. He's the only candidate that in at least 2 states the polls are saying, you know how I like polls, but the polls are saying that in my state of Virginia and Florida, that Biden would beat Trump by like 3 points. I don't think we got to worry about that, to be honest with you. I think the only thing Biden can beat is himself, because that's all he's shown to do. He's just a weird guy. But yeah, as you can see from the numbers, I mean, it's not even close. It's not even close. Let's see. Let's see if we could pull up Sanders, if his stuff will come up real quick. Oh, yeah. No, it wants to be complicated and a pain in the butt. Oh, there we go. Here we go. So we're going to pull up Bernie Sanders, see how he's doing comparatively. It's set up a little bit different. Huh. Didn't he say he wasn't going to take any, like, big donor stuff, like... Huh. I could have swore Bernie Sanders said he was only going to, like, accept individual donations, but I'm seeing PACs. And Google? Google? That's very interesting. I'd like to see how Bernie Sanders explains that. Yeah, it doesn't have a whole bunch of information up here. It does have some interesting information though. Yeah, it doesn't have a bunch of his information up as of yet. But we'll get into that. I'm sure it'll be popping up soon. If not, I'll find somewhere else with more of Sanders stuff. But the point being, my point that I'm trying to make is Democrats. They're not winning on the contribution front. That's for sure. That's got to be pretty unnerving. That's got to be pretty unnerving, considering Trump is just. I mean, he's crushing them. These are just the fourth quarter numbers. If you check out all the numbers from just starting at, we'll say 2017, he's consistently came out on top. There's a reason for that. I mean, yes, he's getting a lot of donors from big donations from companies and stuff. Sure. But his individual contributions are also way more than what you're seeing from the Democrats. It's just, I think the people are speaking, People are talking. They're not talking out loud because God forbid you admit that you're a conservative nowadays, that you support the president, or that you even like the policies the president has enacted that have actually helped our country. Yeah, nowadays it seems that you have to almost be ashamed of positive things that are happening just because Trump, orange man bad. You know how the left is. They're crazy. They've lost the plot. But, like I was saying, Trump is outraising. He's outspending. He's outraising. He's crushing them. Well, he's not outspending with he was. He was outspending by a lot with ads, and he didn't even have to really spend on ads because free press. But, yeah, it's something to behold, man. It's something to behold. He's crushing it. The left is going to be crushed come 2020. I think, personally, I'm starting to think it's going to truly be a landslide. I've been very apprehensive of saying that, but with the whole Russia failing, the Ukraine thing nonsense, and the impeachment nonsense, the left has thrown out every weapon they have. And they've done it haphazardly. They just screwed everything up. They could have went down they could have tried the same routes they were doing and just went about it in a less emotional way, this, that, and the other, and in a more how it was actually, how these things were set up to be, instead of just making crap shows of them all. But they didn't. And the people are acknowledging that. And it's not to benefit the left. Sorry. You've made your bed. It's time for you to lay in it. But I'd love to hear your comments on all of this. And as always, like, share, and subscribe. I will catch y'all on the flip side.